Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alyssa Corum here with Ed Carson, and on today's show, we're going to be taking a look at Lululemon's chart action, as well as Facebook and ServiceNow. But before we get to that, let's take a look at the major indexes. We were able to close up across the board. The Nasdaq finished with a gain about 0.6%. The S&P 500 closed about flat, and so did the Dow, slightly in positive territory here, maybe up like 0.1% each or so. And, you know, the Nasdaq closed off of its intraday high. It looked like maybe it was going to get above that 50-day line, but it did not finish above that level.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a little disappointing. You know, it would have been nice to get above that level. The Dow and S&P have been above that level for several days. You know, but on the other hand, really the last few days on all the major averages, you know, it's sort of been moving sideways. We're waiting for news on the Fed. Their two-day meeting starts tomorrow, and then we're waiting on the G20 meeting to see if, you know, President Trump and President Xi, meet and maybe restart China trade talks. And so those are a couple things going on. And so we're sort of marking time, you know, in that situation. But there was some nice action underneath.
Yeah, nice action underneath, most notably from Lululemon today, gained about 4% in heavy volume. Now, it tried to break out last week, but ended up closing below the buy point, but it has now found support and rallied back higher again into a buy zone.
Yeah, it was nice action. I mean, it really did not look good on Thursday. It, you know, broke out and then fizzled almost right away.
Right, we were looking at the 5-minute chart as
right.
our guide, and it did not end that day very well.
Did not end that day well, but it did find support at the 50-day that day on Friday, and then today it rose really strongly. Not only retook the buy point, but hit a new high. IBD added this to leaderboard today, which we have open access for, so you can check out all the things. We really focus on a handful of top stocks, especially as they're getting into buy zone or near buy zone, and really annotate it. But you know, this was nice bullish action. Sometimes you don't get it that first time. You get, you know, it doesn't work, but you can be patient. Sometimes you get in, you get shaken out, or sometimes that happens. But if it does act bullishly again, you can't let that prior experience disappoint you.
Yeah, always good to be flexible and keep names like this on your watch list, especially when they're showing strong fundamentals. They may stage a breakout again.
And that's right. And the RS line here is at a record high, the relative strength line. It is leading the market. That's the blue line there. So, you know, it did well during the correction, doing well now.
Yeah, it is. And Facebook is actually looking better. It had a solid gain today, gained about 4.2% in above average turnover, retaking its 50-day line, rising ahead of more information about its cryptocurrency plans on Tuesday. So Facebook getting into the cryptocurrency business, I mean, you know, there's a big audience there, and clearly they have a big network, but there are still security concerns, I think, you know, so
yeah,
what are your thoughts on this plan of theirs?
Well, obviously there's a lot of potential, I think, and this would be the first company to really try to make its own ecosystem. There's 2 billion people using Facebook.
Very accessible.
Very accessible. This could boost e-commerce, you know, games and just shopping, maybe help even their advertising indirectly because people feel the need to advertise on if it's more of an e-commerce platform. So, you know, there's a lot of potential there. I don't know, yeah, it'll be interesting to see it comes out. They have a lot of backers, including a lot of payment companies, but maybe they feel sort of obligated. It'll be interesting to see how much support they really give it. But in terms of the stock, really deep base, you know, but the handle is long enough that you could argue it would be long.
It's a new base,
well,
maybe,
I mean, I'm not saying it is, but it's sort of like might ease your concerns about how deep that old base was. I mean, that is long enough to be its own base. The stock sold off a few weeks ago when there was those reports on antitrust concerns that hit Facebook, Google, and Amazon. Boy, it came really strongly back. The RS line, it's getting close to the highs.
Recovering.
Yeah, it's getting close to the consolidation highs. Certainly, you would expect if the stock did get above the handle, that it would very likely the RS line would be above that handle in RS line. So that would be positive.
Yeah. And it's about 5% below that potential buy point there, continuing to climb towards that potential entry.
Yeah, and there's a turnaround story. 7% earnings decline expected this year, but investors are expecting a 32% gain next year. So that would be a return sort of that can slim sweet spot.
Right. Well, we'll have to see how these crypto plans impact the stock and the ongoing antitrust issues. All right. And last but not least, let's take a look at ServiceNow. It gained a little bit today, but the story really here is that it has formed a new base. So one of the beneficiaries of this sideways action that we've seen in the market, because it saw a couple of days of strong gains right when the new market uptrend started. But if it would have broken out to new highs at that point, that may have been too short for it to actually be a proper base.
Yeah, I mean, one problem with the stock running constantly, it's a little like Thursday Night Football. It's a little too soon and people are injured. It just doesn't work. The games aren't as good on Thursday night, it seems to be. You want a little bit of rest sometimes. So stocks to take a break. This was a great rest. Look at the RS line. It really didn't fall much at all. It corrected with the market. Great for a growth stock after a strong run. Found support around the 50-day line. Here it is, sort of setting up again. It's really a flat base on a weekly chart, not so much on a daily chart, but it's just positive action. A lot of software names are like that. And so you need that break sometimes, or to pause and collect and see which stocks are really going to be the leaders. This one may or may not. It hasn't broken out, but this is definitely one to be putting on a watch list.
All right, yeah, ServiceNow trading about 3% below a potential buy point at 281.84. And Ed mentioned open access for Leaderboard, so you should definitely check that out. And we have a webinar that's happening tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Pacific about how to trade with the trend. And it's our very own Chris Getzel and Ken Shreve talking to you all about that and how they've really been getting extra strategic with Leaderboard and the different market environments that we've been seeing and the changes in the market environment and how to really handle your portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting stuff. They're really trying to, getting better and better all the time.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. And you can check out investors.com for all the latest stock market news and analysis. And our content is also all across social media. So if you aren't following us yet, make sure to check out Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter to stay up to date on all the latest. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.